Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago has told global leaders at the G20 meeting of the Deputy Finance Ministers and Deputy Central Bank Governors to use the opportunity to change the way that global financial systems work. In his address to the media, Kganyago lauded central banks for dealing with high inflation over the past 2 years. Let's talk about it with business editor Xolani Mbanjwa, who is there. Xolani, good afternoon. Good morning still, rather. Kganyago reinforcing what this G20 presidency will be about for South Africa. And what he touched on today wasn't an old theme, one he's quite passionate about.
Good morning, Iman. He actually touched on something that is quite passionate about. And let's not forget, Iman, the people we have been meeting for the past 4 days here are central bank governors and finance ministers from the 20 most powerful nations who are responsible for, one, spending taxpayers' money, and number two, on the other monetary policy side, which is central banks, protecting the value of our money through the targeting of inflation. And that's the message he was really trying to drive in terms of the importance of this finance track. He says the finance track of the G20 is the most important gathering for the G20 because this is what it's all about. It's about how you actually support the most vulnerable and make sure that the economies are doing well, particularly the poorest nations. So it's something that he actually drove quite strongly when he was talking about how important it will be for South Africa to make sure that it uses this opportunity where this particular presidency is an opportunity which was not there for the past 4 presidencies to review the workings of the G20. And this is the words he used in his opening address to the global leaders here about how important the work they need to do here for the rest of this day, as it is the final day ahead of that important ministers' meeting in February.
It is unsurprising that the G20 agenda has become bloated. We aren't the first to bemoan this, and we won't be the last. Still, we believe that by simplifying and streamlining, we can have more focused discussions and therefore more wins. For this reason, as you can tell from the agenda and the issues note, we have decided not to add more working groups, and we have tried to narrow the agendas where possible. We have found, however, that as much as we all agree on the need to streamline, we remain hesitant to give up a little to reach that objective. And so I ask you, when providing your inputs today, please think about the bandwidth scarcity. Less is more. With this in mind, South Africa believes it is time to focus on implementation, take stock of where we are vis-a-vis our objectives, and agree on how we accelerate progress towards the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals.
Xolani, he also spoke about what needs to change.
Yes, Iman. Before he got to speaking about what needs to change, he also emphasized his support for the role that central bank governors around the world have played in dealing with inflation. Unfortunately, for most of those in the middle income barrier, they are indebted and interest rates have eaten into their expendable income. But he says they are going to discuss here and take stock of the role they played, whether they cut interest rates too quickly, they raise interest rates too fast. They will take stock of that because they don't act in silos. They do act in unison when they decide to cut or increase interest rates. And something else he says that things need to change in the G20. Absolutely, which is why in the earlier clip he was talking about there is no implementation because there's no streamlining of work. There's too much that is being focused on. South Africa needs to streamline the work and focus on implementation. He says the global institutions need to change. Take a listen.
It has been more than 15 years since the onset of the global financial crisis and the establishment of the Financial Stability Board. In the short period of its existence, the Financial Stability Board stands out as one of the G20's most durable accomplishments. Despite a series of shocks such as COVID-19 pandemic, the March 23 market turmoil, banking crises and regional conflicts, the global financial system has remained broadly resilient and macroeconomic shocks have been largely contained. This reflects genuine global cooperation to address emerging risks and vulnerabilities and protect the public good, which is global financial stability. Notwithstanding this remarkable success, we cannot be complacent. There are concerns that the G20 has, over the past few years, faced challenges with the implementation of the recommendations from the FSB and other standard-setting bodies. We believe that the South African presidency presents a good opportunity to look back at the FSB work over the past 15 years and find practical solutions in enhancing implementation to ensure the continued resilience of the global financial system.
Iman there, Lesetja Kganyago, reminding the global leaders here that they cannot be complacent. They haven't been in meetings since 9 a.m. and they will break, but the meeting will end at 6 p.m. officially tonight. Back to you in studio, Iman.